Good day and welcome to a Pokemon Randomizer Nuzlocke. In this run, we are going to be taking a look at Heartgold, one of the remakes of the second gen games, Gold and Silver, and we're going to take a look at a full randomizer run. So all the Pokemon are pretty much randomized, the types are randomized, the moves are randomized. It makes it very unpredictable. Because of that, we actually have no idea what kind of Pokemon we're going to end up using. For this run, we're going to choose the female character, just for a bit of fun. We went male last time. And yeah, we're basically going to do a full run through, hopefully, without any major issues. Now, these Nuzlocke runs for me are a ton of fun. I absolutely adore Nuzlocke runs. I enjoy randomizers. I think this one is almost too random. Some randomizers will randomize, certain levels of things. Some will, for example, randomize Pokemon. Great. Some will randomize the stats on those Pokemon, like move types and passives and things like that. Some will randomize the doorways you walk through. This is not full randomization. Like, you still have the linear pathways and stories and things like that. But there's a lot of randomization beyond that. All the trainers you fight, you'll notice, have very weird names. All the gym leaders have very weird names, all have very weird Pokemon. So, yeah, it's going to be up for the ride. Speaking of which, we obviously choose our starter. Here we have a choice of Scyther, Sandslash, and Probopass. You can see the typing is even randomized. So Scyther is being classified as a water Pokemon. That's going to be something we have to keep aware of when we are obviously kind of training our Pokemon, training their moves, being aware of stab and things like that. And for this run, we're going to name Scyther Slash. It's not the most original name, but for me, most times I think it's just a little bit of fun to kind of go with the most classic name possible. So yeah, we'll have to see. Obviously, for people who've never played Gold or Silver, I think they're a ton of fun. The remakes were probably some of my favorite games of all time. I enjoyed playing them massively on the Nintendo DS. It was probably one of the best, I think, games of all time. Even better than the originals, if I'm being completely honest. For Nuzlocke, if you guys don't know the rules, obviously, just to kind of preface it, so we can only catch one Pokemon per route, which is obviously a huge problem in any Heartgold or Soul Silver run, or any Silver or Gold run, because when you complete your first little mission to go and kind of pick up, Professor Oak and pick up the mystery egg, the issue that you come across is that you run through like 3 routes right at the beginning. So I believe it's only up until Route 31 that we can actually catch a Pokemon. It's not a train smash, but it's just super interesting that you're going to be spending quite a long time comparative to some of the other games that you could be doing in Nuzlocke on in terms of getting your second, third, fourth Pokemon. So I think that's something super duper interesting when you compare it to other ones, having that kind of like really interesting kind of effect that you're going to end up having by delaying your second and third Pokemon within your team. Of course, we head off trying to get ourselves a mystery egg. One nice thing I like about this game is they give you a lot of the utility early on, right? You get running shoes literally before you even finish the tutorial. You get your Pokegear, you get a map, you get everything nice, quick, and early. And I think that's something that also kind of makes the game feel really good. It takes the reins off really early on. It kind of hits like a big tutorial in the first 20 minutes. You have a guy kind of railroad you through loading all the buildings. He gives you the running shoes. You have Pokegear given to you. You have a map given to you. Your mom heals your Pokemon. You have like a very strong railroaded tutorial for about 20-25 minutes. And then you're kind of immediately able to just kind of roll with everything. And they give you the verse recorder early on, which allows you to refight trainers. They allow you to take trainers' numbers early on. So I think for me, that's something I really like about Soul Silver and Heartgold. It is right off the bat just playing Pokemon. Of course, we get the mystery egg, and then we're accosted by our rival, who I think in the original series it remains unnamed. So you obviously have to give them the name. Can't remember the character's original name. I want to say Bill, but I'm probably wrong. But for me, it started with a B. Obviously, he, she, they, them has a sand slash, which doesn't pose any real threats to our Slash, who, seems to be able to deal with them more than fine. Hyper Beam, pretty nice to have early on, some very high damaging moves. Allows us to kind of have really good control early on by just kind of abusing that high power mechanic. The low nature of fights, a lot of the fights in the beginning are 1, 2, 3, in terms of numbers. So yeah, of course, we need to eventually name our rival. So for me, I ended up naming them Alex, largely because that was just the name that they were given by the game when we fought them the first time, which, as you would have noticed, the game did give to them. So that's just because the game is obviously randomizing everything so much. It's even randomizing the names of the NPCs. But anyway, obviously after that, Professor Elm says, hey, it's great. You managed to kind of save the day. Professor Oak has given you a task to now go and get all the gym badges. That's really about it. Honestly, the game doesn't give you kind of like a long-winded, highly focused goal right in the beginning. It literally just says, hey, thanks for saving the day. You should probably try the gym league. And then things obviously kick off from there. I think, for me, this is probably my favorite beginning to any Pokemon game. Like I said, just because the railroad's taken off early, you're able to kind of integrate yourself into the game, start exploring the world. There's a couple caves, there's a couple nice things early on. The Pokemon following you is a fantastic touch. For people who don't know, that was not originally in Pokemon Silver or Pokemon Gold. It was originally in Pokemon Yellow, and it was a feature that they brought back in. And if you actually purchased the game back then, you could get a Pokemon Walker, which would have allowed you to actually give Pokemon XP whilst you stored them in the Pokeball Walker. I actually still have mine, which is really, really fun to kind of whip out as a novelty item. I think I put it on my car keys. But yeah, we do manage to get to Route 31 and manage to not defeat a Torterra, which we find, and capture him, eventually naming him Tony. And that's going to be our main go-to backup / probably eventually our main. One thing I think the randomizer does not randomize is the Pokemon's base stats. So obviously the nature and their passive is randomized, but I think the only thing it doesn't randomize is their base stats, because then you could catch a level 50 Pokemon with level 1 and 2 stats. I just don't think it does that. So we capture Torterra with almost defeating him, but safely we managed to capture him and then name him Tony after my homeboy Tony Montana, which is great. What's super interesting for me, or what's something you may notice, is that a lot of times the trainer fights are absolute diabolical carnival festive fights. We're facing a level 2 Entei that a bug catcher has caught, that also has Tailwind and Razor Leaf, which, needless to say, is a weird combination. So it's one of those things where I think because of that, the run can be super exciting, but also can almost be so random that it's like, you don't even know how to plan or plot. And so levels, high-powered moves, gimmicky mechanics, like Dragon Dance, things like that, those are going to be your go-to maneuvers, abusing whatever type advantages and trying to remember what each Pokemon is now kind of changed into. That's gonna help. Of course, for me, what's really, really cool with Heartgold and Soul Silver is that Bell Tower, Sprout Tower, and Burn Tower, which are all these kind of towers that you see in the game, these are obviously buildings. And you go into them and you fight trainers, you have certain goals and mechanics. Like here, we're trying to fight the trainers so we can eventually take on the kind of leader of the tower. the monk, the sensei, and we're going to get some items from him. We unfortunately, lose a Lucario along the way because we just kind of one-shot him. But what's super interesting is that these are actually classified as caves in the game's internal files. So these are not actually buildings per se. And the reason for this is that being classified as caves allows you to find Pokemon within them that are wild. So you can use Dig to escape. Burmy, for example, well, assuming he has the right passive, take on a Sandy Cloak rather than Trash Cloak if battles here. So it's just all very interesting to kind of see that change in interaction with being classified as a cave. Again, weird Pokemon, taking out a Groudon, however you want to pronounce it. That's just a random NPC trainer has. But hey, eventually we get to the top of the tower. Time to take on a gauntlet of trainers. This was great for leveling, by the way. Just absolutely managed to kind of speed, gobsmack level our Torterra and our lovely Slash. The big thing with randomizer runs as well is because the evolutions are randomized and because the evolution stage plays a part in XP drops, you can have moments where you're like almost gaining like a full level from taking out a Pokemon that's like 3-4 levels below you, especially early on because of the kind of bonus, the boost from having that incorporation of high evolution Pokemon that you're then taking out. So it's a very interesting aspect. I mean, like our Pokemon, we easily got both of them to level 14 without really doing anything at all, which is, super duper interesting. For me, honestly, it's interesting enough, but I think for me, I do kind of wish there was a little bit more stability in what we're facing here, because it is very confusing and disorientating to not only see the Pokemon, but have zero idea of their typing. Like you see an Electrode, we have no idea if that Electrode is an actual Electrode. Anyway, we finish in the tower and we decide, we're going to take the gym leader, then move on to the next city. There's not really too much for us to do. I don't think we need to grind levels, especially considering we have zero idea what this boss has, and we have 2 pretty decent level Pokemon as well. Obviously, we take on both of his trainers. This is just for fun, to see what the hell they are rolling with, but also just to, of course, give ourselves a little bit of a XP boost. Finally, we beat both of them. We take on the gym leader Falconer, or should I say, in this situation, Engineer Anne, because everything's randomized. Ultimately, I think for me, overall, super duper straightforward. We struggled a little bit with Shellos, quite a lot actually. We didn't seem to have a move that was super effective against Shellos, and this gave us quite a few issues. The Sonic Booms from Shellos were pretty damaging, I must be honest, and left me a little bit squeaky bummed for Slash's life. But we managed to kind of recover him. Obviously, had to switch in, use a potion, keep things mixed, keep things topped up, and then obviously kind of push on. I managed to take out Shellos. Once we did, then I switched over, made sure we used Tony, and kind of ramped things up. Tony, we're fortunate, like I said, a nice high evolution character, good stats, was fairly capable of dealing with this Nuzleaf that Engineer and /Falconer / random Pokemon Ruby Route 1 trainer. But it was pretty clean, pretty simple, and it was nice to see that Peck, although not really aligned with knowing what Nuzleaf's type is, was still super effective. So pretty cool. Randomizer run, very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. Should be keen to see how different the rest of the run is. But I think for me, very, very, very random. So but let me know your guys' thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care, stay safe, and bye.